Hello, good morning. And so I thought I would do a really quick video on on no filters, on authenticity, on being who you are and all this sort of stuff, right? So here's the thing, right? The number one thing that is the single most important value to being yourself, being authentic, and what was the third one I just mentioned? What was the first one I started with? Oh, the no filters, right? The no filters, right? Is tell the motherfucking truth, right? Tell the truth. Now, you might receive this information and be like, I already tell the truth, but that is not true. And for someone who started their truth-telling journey, I think 5 years ago now, I can tell you that it is a process of unraveling all of the deeper parts of your mind that you are not yet aware of, right? So I had an example. I joined someone's team. I love this person so much, right? I joined the team, and I was promoting a lot of their services and things like that, and a lot about their story and a lot about the clients and things like that, because honestly the work that she does is phenomenal, and I'm a part of that team, right? Or I was a part of that team. Anyway, so we were learning through the process, because I'd only joined like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she came back with some of her terms of being part of that team, and I was like, oh. It was a deep part of me that was like, wow, I don't really like these terms, right? I don't. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, all this promotion that I've been doing, why have I been doing it? What is the agenda behind it for me, right? And I'm not talking consciously, I'm talking about the unconscious pattern. So I spotted it. I spotted the unconscious pattern, one of the behaviors that I have. And I was like, shit. And I was like, well, I don't want that pattern anymore. So I want to build my own credibility, which means that I'm not trying to piggyback off someone else's results, right? I'm not trying to do that. And so I went back to her and I said that that these were now my things, and I'd spotted my own pattern as well, but also that I didn't really want to be in that restraint with terms. And like, everyone has to have their own boundaries, because that's the most important thing. I know I'm not looking at the camera. I know you're supposed to look at the camera. I might do this again to keep engagement, but I am thinking live on live, right? But it was such a beautiful conversation, right? It was so beautiful, because I had spotted what was going on inside of me, what my unconscious patterns were, what my real motivations were. And it wasn't just one thing, right? There was a bit of entanglement there. So there was a lot of pure intention, and there was a lot of benefit from going through the process, right? And I'm sure that information has had massive positive value. But there was a point where I had to make a decision whether I wanted to live by someone else's rules and kind of really keep that same pattern happening, or am I going to trust myself? Am I going to trust myself? Am I going to tell her the truth? Am I going to trust myself? Am I going to grow up, right, and do the stuff properly? And I decided to trust myself. I decided to build my own credibility. Now, the person that I was talking to is she's just, we had such a laugh. It was such a beautiful conversation, right? And it wasn't like a really long conversation with her. It was only like a few messages or messenger. But you can feel there's just a real mutual respect, right? Mutual respect and the love that we have for each other, and that in telling each other the truth and setting our own boundaries. It it leads us to another level, right? Another level of growth. But if you really want to be authentic, if you really want to show up, right, as yourself and become magnetic for your clients or for the people that need you in your life, there's a delayering process of all of the layers and masks that you've been conditioned with. Now, in truth, we all have a critical filter, and our emotional minds actually run most of the show. So there's a reason why we idolize celebrities, right? There's a reason why we listen to people that really are no better than us, right? Giving us advice, because we've been taught, it's been subliminally programmed that those people are authorities, and that, you know, we must listen to them, or we must idolize them. But actually, every single person has dichotomy, and it's not so much that you are a good or a bad person. It's understanding the nuances and being able to live in the grey, right? So a really good example of this is around waiting. There's a lot of stuff in the personal development industry that says, what are you waiting for? Get off your ass, right? Move. And that is very true, right? That's very true, right? Take imperfect action. But sometimes the waiting is required, and even that's an action, because I'm going to use food as an example, I'm going to use relationships, but sometimes when your body is craving something, that's an addiction, right? So maybe it's craving a cigarette, maybe it's craving some kind of sugar, maybe it's craving, I don't know, lamb curry. It's my personal favorite, right? And so you'll go and you'll fill up on that, because that's the addiction from the body that it's craving, and you're not waiting, so you just go and you just do it. But other times you're supposed to wait, because that addiction is not serving you, right? The sugar or the cigarette is possibly not serving you, and then this isn't a judgment as to what you should and shouldn't do, right? But for me, like with alcohol, I didn't have the ability to say no, and I was completely unconscious of how much I drank. And I didn't drink a lot, right? It was maybe 2 or 3 times a year. It wasn't a lot. Maybe 6. I don't know. It wasn't very often, right? But I couldn't say no, and it was really bad for me. Whereas now I don't drink at all, because I don't even like it, right? I don't like the taste of alcohol. It's gross. For me, other than Bailey's is probably the only thing that I would drink, but still I don't like it. Anyway, going back to the point. But there's other times when your body is signaling to you that it's actually hungry, and that's the time you need to eat, because that's the time when the saliva is running, right? When you've got the stuff in your stomach going on. It's a very medical term coming from me, which is going to release the enzymes to break down the food. And to be fair, the more you delay the addiction, the more you're going to know what food is good for you, because your body will just naturally tell you, go and eat an avocado, go and eat a banana. Like it is, it's absolutely fascinating once you start that journey. And if you do a 4-day fast, you'll notice this anytime, like, you stop eating, your taste buds reset. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this apple is amazing. And you'll smell like Coca-Cola or something. You'll be like, oh, that's poison. Right? You know, like how animals can do it. So in order for you to really stay in authenticity, is to start with telling the truth, and not just to other people, but to yourself, to really look deeper. What's the motivation here? What's the agenda? And it's not even whether it's good or bad. It's like literally just making a decision, because if I'd stayed in the team, it wouldn't have been a bad decision, in the sense that, you know, the work that she does is amazing and it's positive, and I could promote that and be a part of the team and promote that in that way, right? But it wouldn't have been me, because that is not my human design. It's not how I operate. It never has been. It doesn't work for me. And it's not coming from arrogance. It really isn't. It's just not natural for me. And anytime I try to operate in a way that is not me, it hurts me, and I go through a long cycle of just masks, right? Of trying to be something that I was not intended to be. So this is my really extra long video for you today, right? Of how you stay in integrity, how you stay in the truth, but you have to be able to trust yourself. You have to be able to have the courage, the integrity, the willingness, the determination, the passion to really embrace all of you. Because to tell you anything else is my daughter's just changed her name. It's really bizarre on WhatsApp. She just sent me 2 messages. Anyway, so that's thrown me in this part of the video. Getting back to the point, it's really important for you to be able to hold that structure, because here's the thing. Every time you're not being yourself, every time you're not being authentic, every time you're doing something from a place of lack because you don't trust yourself, because you don't trust that people are going to love you for who you are. And I'm not talking about your conditioned habits or your emotional reactions, right? I really am not talking about that. I'm talking about you being full up and holistic, being you, because that's really the most blissful state that you can be in. Right? Like, there's all stuff about when you have the money, then you can relax, and when you have the relationship, then you can whatever, right? But here's the thing. The money is great. You're supposed to have both. You're supposed to have both. You're not supposed to be without it, because it gives you choices, it relaxes your nervous system, and in fact you can do a lot more healing with it. But it doesn't what's the word? It just amplifies what's on the inside of you, right? It just amplifies what's on the inside of you. And my point is, if you are doing things for the money, at some point that's going to unravel. And if it doesn't unravel, it's just not very, you just don't enjoy it, right? Like if you see people and they go on holiday, and they think to themselves, like, when I go on holiday, I can relax. And so the first day they get to the holiday and they're like, oh, I'm by the beach and this is really amazing. And then by the second day, they're in exactly the same paradigm, right? So they're thinking about work and they're like, okay, I've had enough of the beach now. Maybe I should go home, whatever. So they're not able to enjoy it. And so you're supposed to have both. And the most important thing you need to be able to have both is the ability to be yourself without any filters, without needing to attach yourself to achievements or traumas of the past or anything along those lines. It's just literally living as you were intended to be. And the number one thing I'll come back to is to start telling the truth in all ways to yourself, and then making a decision that is right for you and allowing it to unfold. Because you won't always get it right. You won't always make the right decision. But if you're willing and open to making decisions in the first place, you will eventually start to know what is the right decision for you, and it will become really fast and you'll become really decisive. And the most successful people, and when I say successful people, I'm talking about people who are living their life by design rather than via default. The happiest people are the fast decision makers, because they already know what is in alignment for them. All right, guys, take care. And yes, I'm in my pajamas as I've dropped my son to school, but I felt like I needed to say this because I enjoy it. Guys, bye.